Had he lost, Andreas wondered, or did it elude him still? Of course, he was far from home as well. Farther, in fact, as Lund was a week's travel beyond Rains. But he hadn't looked on the cold and grey water of the Baltic Sea for many years. For him, it was a matter of wanderlust. "That is why I never stay long," he would tell those who asked. "I want to see the world." He had been to the northernmost and southernmost shores of Christendom, as far east as Petra-Athen, the ancient citadel of the Shield Brethren, and as far west as a dingy tavern not a mile from this chapter house, just beyond the ruins of the Roman walls that mark the center of Barcelona.
"I am told you have a proposition for us,"
Domingo said, picking up one of the two cups as he sat down opposite the merchant.
"Yes,"
Jacoby said, blinking several times.
"I have several wagons of goods that need to arrive safely at their destination, and I seek to hire a small company of your men to accompany them."
Domingo regarded the man for a moment before answering.
"The Ordo Militum Vindicis Intacti do not hire themselves out as caravan guards," he said finally. "There are several hundred men-at-arms in Barcelona who would satisfy your needs."
"I know none of them," Jacoby replied,
"nor their reputations."
Domingo made a noise in his chest and idly reached over to scratch the end of his shortened arm. Andreas had only been at the Shield Brethren chapter house for a few months, but he had been there long enough to notice a connection between the quartermaster's mood and the presence of a nagging itch in the scarred knob of Domingo's arm. The trader's comment was a bit clumsy in its inference, but not surprising. The Ordo Militum Vindicis Intacti, the Shield Brethren, as they were more commonly known, were famed throughout Christendom for their martial prowess. The few victories the West could claim in the Crusades, for instance, came about because of the presence of the Shield Brethren in the Holy Land. What merchant wouldn't want men of this caliber guarding his caravan?
"You don't know us either,"
Domingo pointed out.
"You have a reputation for trustworthiness,"
the trader said finally, reaching for his cup.
"It is a simple proposition. I do not understand your reticence."
He took a small sip, staring over the rim at Domingo with his wide eyes.
"Do you think I cannot afford you?"
Domingo waved the question away.
"I am not as concerned about the cost as I am the reason why you seek to incur it." "My cargo is valuable,"
Jacoby said.
"Why would I not pay to keep it safe?" "From whom?" "I am traveling into the Pyrenees,"
Jacoby said.
"There is much unrest on the other side of those mountains. The Inquisition is still in Toulouse. Who knows what manner of ruffian and fugitive is fleeing the church, heading south into the mountains?" He tilted his head to one side. "Heading this way." "They'll be unorganized, scattered,"
Domingo countered.
"Easily put off by an organized host of armed men."
"Exactly my point," Jacoby countered.
"Why wouldn't I want the most organized, the most effective host guarding my goods? Why wouldn't I want the order that was worthy enough for Eleanor of Aquitaine?" "That was a long time ago,"
Domingo said quietly.
"It wasn't," the trader argued with a slight wave of his hand. "I was a child when King Richard was ransomed. I remember the songs." He leaned forward, his eyes wide. "I expect you do too." "Regardless, I do not have any men I can spare,"
Domingo said. Jacoby de Rains turned his head and looked at the loitering Shield Brethren.
"Yes,"
he said slowly, blinking twice.
"They look very busy."
Domingo scowled at the indolent Shield Brethren. Andreas stared back at the quartermaster and the merchant, arms crossed over his chest. He wasn't about to be cowed by the owlish trader. How any of them spent their time was none of the man's business. Domingo shook his head very slightly as he reached for his cup of wine.
"I'll give your proposal some thought,"
he said.
"Excellent,"
Jacoby said, taking a tiny sip from his cup.
"I am staying at the Inn of the Ram's Head. Do you know it?"
When Domingo nodded, the trader